This is a matchup for the ages. Body cuts a path straight to the paint, and she serves up a slam dunk. Oh, Body may have the win, but Frank really got the W on that play. That's gotta hurt.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Reaction Time, presented by our friends at Fareway. I'm Jacqueline Cordova, joined as always by my co-host, Ben Visser. Yeah, wrestling. Big 12 duel. Iowa State won their first Big 12 duel of the season against North Dakota State in Humboldt in Kevin Dresser's old high school gym. I unfortunately did not make it like I said I was going to. I woke up Wednesday morning last week feeling like death. Sounds like it's going around.
Yep, that's never fun, yeah.
I say I probably still don't sound normal. I'm still trying to kick the last of it, but so unfortunately I wasn't there, but looked like it was a good crowd.
Sounded like it. Yeah, I listened to the Varsity Sports app to Nate Carr and Ryan, so that was a grand old time.
Iowa State won 27-12. So, some guys took care of business. Some guys made some debuts in there. How excited were you to see your guy, Ethan Perryman?
Yeah, I mean, I remember when he was a true freshman and he had quite a bit of hype around him. It's like, all right, let's see what he can do. He did get a wrestle against UNI last year, 2 years ago, and did get an important win. Also wrestled against Missouri. I think he got pinned, or maybe lost by tech fall. One of those two things. So his time in the lineup has been a little bit up and down. Unfortunately, lost this match to Tristan Daughtry, 6-2. But we also saw more debuts from guys like Osmani Diversent, who won 7-3. Sounded like he wrestled pretty well. Jacob Frost, while not making a debut, by far his best match as a Cyclone.
Yeah, Tech Fall
won 17-2 against Kellen March, who is a quality wrestler. And then, we won't belabor North Dakota State too much, but two other matches that I think really speak to what Iowa State still can be, even with all of the injuries, are Cody Chittum and Daniel Herrera. Cody, technically not his first match back, but he's been out to Cleveland State for the Cleveland State Open a couple weeks ago. But first match in a duel, and got a pin in 5 minutes, 51 seconds, was down. I forget what Iowa State called it, but to me it's a cement mixer.
I think that's what they called it. Okay. Dresser called it something else.
Okay. Yeah, Dresser called it something else.
I tweeted the quote.
Yes, to me it's a cement mixer. And pinned Gabriel Strum, and it was vintage Cody Chittum. Like when Jackie and I talk about the energy that guys like him and MJ Gaitan can bring, just like we're gonna throw it all out there, and whatever happens, but you will not question our effort. You will not question if we were attacking. Like we were doing the things. And I think that was just kind of epitomized the Cody Chittum experience. Down, and then suddenly, okay, you won by fall. That's awesome. And then Daniel Herrera also won by fall against Drew Blackburn Forrest. And that's one where, Daniel Herrera is a true freshman, right? So yes, he's probably better than this guy, but you don't really ever know how true freshmen are going to wrestle. But we got to talk to Daniel Herrera today, which is Tuesday, and the growth that he has made from his time in high school to now, just off the mat, is remarkable. And his growth is actually in shrinking because he dropped about 50 pounds.
Yeah.
So he, in high school, was weighing about 290, had fast food, he said, for literally every meal. He'd get McDonald's for breakfast, Carl's Jr. for lunch, and then In-N-Out for supper. And while he's a heavyweight and he can support those pounds and that sort of thing, the nutrition is still an issue. So one of the things that had happened when he's gotten to Iowa State was, really hammered down his nutrition. It's a lot more lean meats now, things like chicken and stuff like that. And he is a lean 240, 245 now, and looks really good with that weight, because he is, like Dresser said, usually heavyweights are heavyweights for a reason. And he has a big frame, likes to eat. And right now, he's wrestling really well, especially for a true freshman.
And he's very tall.
He is. Yeah, he's at least 6'3", 6'4". He's close to my height.
Yeah.
Yep.
It really is crazy, the evolution of heavyweights.
It is.
And like what the natural build now is for a heavyweight. Like you almost look at high school heavyweights and it might be the hardest class to come out of and like fit the structure, right? Because like if you're naturally small and you are a committed wrestler, then you're going to fit into that college build. But I just think back to some of those big boys that I was watching wrestle when I was in high school. No way. But no, I think it is really fun just to listen the evolution of his decisions. I was thinking of this on my drive here I don't think we talk about this too much on the podcast, but I know Ben and I talk about this one-on-one. It's one of my biggest pet peeves. I can't stand when wrestlers struggle in terms of their diet. And that's coming a lot for me, right? Like I don't have to make weight. I've never been in their position, but I just think it's like so much commitment goes into being a D1 wrestler and really a wrestler in any level in college. So it's just like, it takes so much sacrifice from you to be in that position. Why not just eat right? Why not just make your weight, feel good, and go kick someone's ass? And that's essentially what Daniel Herrera said, which is what I was going for when I asked. I wanted to hear him say it, which he did. He said, getting results makes it a lot easier to make the decision to eat better. So I think it's nice. I think it says a lot about his maturity, just because I was also trying to put it in a perspective of, because he mentioned he's like choosing not to go out and making the right healthy decisions and all those things. I think it says a lot to be able to be in his position and like getting the results and making those better choices that ultimately help him be a guy who can pin in a match, which is hard. It is hard to get a pin in. So I thought that was really fun to learn about and just hear about guys in the room who maybe we, like Dresser said, in a normal season, you wouldn't even see Daniel Herrera except maybe twice. And that would be this month because he competed in an open. So I think it's important to also note that as like, what's in the room, what type of guys are in the room outside of the A team. So that was kind of my biggest takeaway listening to him talk about his evolution from eating fast food 3 times a day to now he's eating a little healthier.
Yeah.
So, but we also got to talk to Cody Chittum, my favorite, one of my favorites, who I also think is so interesting in a different way of evolution, right? Coach talked a lot about his maturity and being a wrestler who can be more patient, more, what's the word?
Calculated.
Yes, calculated, more calculated in his moves, which I think is also very important because like we saw last season, Cody Chittum would give us heart attacks half the time because he wasn't patient. And so I think it's also fun to see his evolution. What do you think about everything he talked about today?
Yes. Dresser was the first one to bring it up. And I thought it was really interesting that he used the word patience and trying to preach patience. Because Dresser's whole thing is aggressiveness, go out there, put on a show, do all these things, get takedowns, be an entertainer. So, and I asked him, it's like, what's the balance between that aggressiveness and being an entertainer and being patient? And he's like, it can be a really hard balance to find because you see a guy like Cody Chittum or an MJ Gaitan was another example he gave, where they shoot shots after shots. And they always try to make something happen. They're just trying to do thing after thing, and it makes them have to wrestle through positions that they shouldn't normally have to wrestle through if they were to be a little bit more calculated. So Dresser said it's finding those opportunities to be aggressive and making sure that they're the right time and smart decisions and things like that. And like similarly on the drive over here, I was just thinking back to previous Iowa State wrestlers and what an overabundance of patience looks like and what an overabundance of aggressiveness looks like. And so like I think the overabundance of patience looks like a Sam Colbray type. All the talent in the world, but would shoot 2 shots per match, maybe. And it's just one of those things where it's like, Sam, you got to get going. Like, and he was so technical that he only shot when it felt exactly right. So his takedown percentage was pretty high. Like when he shot, he usually got a takedown, but like he never shot. So like that's the way far end of that patience spectrum. On the aggressiveness spectrum, I almost think of a younger Bastida freshman year, before he knew anything about folk style wrestling, before he really knew English, he was just going out there and trying to get takedown after takedown after takedown. And he'd do these fireman's carries and he'd do all these things and he just gassed himself out in like the second period. And it worked against the bad guys, like apologies to Division I wrestlers. It worked against the guys who weren't as good as him. But when he'd wrestle an AJ Ferrari or a Stephen Buchanan, it went poorly quickly. Because he just gassed himself out and he just didn't have the gas tank at that time to be able to handle it. So like his aggressiveness worked against him. You could also argue MJ Gaitan and Cody Chittum last year were too aggressive at times. And I mean, MJ last year, he'd find a way to be down 8-2 after every first period, and he'd find a way to win. But like MJ, keep your head
right.
So that's sort of the patience and aggressiveness spectrums. And then so to see Cody finding that middle ground of, and he said this, and Dresser said this too, the wrestling room's like a laboratory. So in the wrestling room, Cody Chittum is trying different things in different moments just to feel and to see what it's like to be aggressive when's the right time to shoot that shot, when's the right time to hit the cement mixer. Chittum said, he's like, I've done that cement mixer so many times in the room at so many different times. And I knew when I felt it in that moment that I had it because I'd done it so many times. So that's like the perfect encapsulation of both the aggressiveness and the patience. Like he didn't hit that cement mixer as soon as he got him in that front headlock. Mm-hmm. He hit it when he felt that it was right. When he felt like, oh, I've been in this moment before and it worked. And that's when he hit it. That's when he got the pin. And I think it's David Carr had that balance his entire career, I think. And it helps when your dad, or did I say Nate Carr?
No, you said David.
Okay, good. Okay. Yeah, David had that balance his entire career, and it helps when you have a dad like Nate Carr. But David was always, you could see him being patient. You could see him stalking his opponent at times. And really, I mean, you think back to the Mitchell Messenbrink NCAA championship match last year. That was that to a T. He got hit for stalling twice, which was, again, we don't need to belabor that point right now, but the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. And he got hit for stalling during the middle of a shot. I was like, what are we doing here? But that happened, and it's because David has that balance of patience and aggressiveness. So I think to see these young guys, these guys who were freshmen last year, like Chittum and MJ, start to learn that balance is really exciting.
I also thought of Sam Schuyler.
Yes.
I remember we would ask him a lot about, because he would always somehow find the perfect moment to win in those like final seconds. And I remember when we would ask him about it, he would always talk about like, I could feel that they were getting tired. I could tell that I could just feel it in their bodies. And I mean, imagine being Cody Chittum and having the like mental patience to physically feel your opponent out the whole time, which he kind of touched on it too. Like you kind of have to give yourself the space to be patient, which I hope they can find that balance. And I think it seems like Cody's kind of got the gears turning. I would like to see MJ do it too, where he tightens it up, because man, it is rough to see him like down 8-3 and then get the flurry in like the third period. But at the same time, that's what makes them fun, right? So how do you preserve that? So it'll be fine. But I mean, we're talking about these fun guys, right? I say we get into who the heck is wrestling this weekend. Dresser today shared some updates. Sounds like Kyson Terrakina's going to be ready to go this weekend, which I'm very excited about. I really want to see where he's at. Dresser keeps being very complimentary of him this year. So I would really like to see what's he got cooking. And this would be a perfect weekend for it. I mean, you're going back to back to back. And not only you'll go up against Lock Haven, but you got North Carolina and Ohio State. So I think this is a good opportunity for someone like Kyson. And then we have a lot of oars, but some updates Dresser shared is he has Younger Bastida listed. Yep. Sounds like he's feeling good, but he did say like, hey, today's Tuesday. Who knows how he's going to feel Friday. But he is listed. He is traveling. So we may or may not see him. We'll see. Anthony Etchemendia still sounds like
out until February.
Yeah, end of End of January. Might
Yep.
be when we hear. So, gosh, what else did he say? Evan Frost had the flu.
Yep.
Like we said earlier, so should be feeling a little better here. Otherwise, him and Osmani are listed. Yep. And then
Bachman's back.
Yep. Evan Bachman, talk about big guys.
Yep.
And
MJ is back. He was also out this last week.
So I think if anything, when you go into collegiate duels, so the team's going to be hitting the road. They'll be on Nashville. Collegiate duels is a very fun event, in my opinion. And again, you get to wrestle top competition like number 5 Ohio State. It's a really good opportunity to see how your guys size up. I liked what Dresser had to say when he talked about just the fact that these guys have to take every single match serious. It's not like your normal structure where guys are just going into tournaments. You know, they're getting a few matches, but the starting lineup's pretty clear. Like, it's anyone's game right now. And so he said these guys need to take it just a little more serious, where a win in an open tournament can mean that's your shot at a wrestle off. So I do think that every match matters a little more than usual in the month of December, just for the fact that these guys really got to battle it out for it. So I think it's a good opportunity to see how these guys line up against each other. And again, this is a grueling day. You have 3 duels back to back. Again, touched on it a little in the wrestling room today. I wish we had a dual tournament, just because I want to see how these teams line up.
Yeah, I would love to see the NCAA implement a dual tournament. We've talked about it probably every year.
Probably.
But it makes too much sense. And we talked about it more when Iowa State was a much better dual team than it was a tournament team. So probably some bias there in that we wanted to see Iowa State have a little bit more success than it was having. But I still think it'd be great. Like, give me the top 16 dual teams, put them in a tournament bracket, and let's see what happens. I think it'd be a great way to make dual meets matter. I think it'd be a great way to make the middle of the season matter, because I'd like to see it essentially right about now. Like, throw that thing in the middle of January, during winter break when nothing's happening, no one's doing anything. Let's get a dual meet tournament going on. Let's see who the best dual team is, and then the rest of the season we can keep on wrestling those dual meets, wrestle for individual accolades, and then get the individual tournament at the end of the year. So I really like the collegiate duels. I would like to see it taken one step further and the NCAA just kind of take over and say, this is what we're doing, guys. Because it is, like, there's some really good guys throughout this entire, like, Lockhaven has several top 30 guys, and most notably Anthony Noto at 133. And then you got number 24 North Carolina. They got Lachlan McNeil at 149, who's number 6. They got a couple other top 20 guys. And then Ohio State is littered with top 15 guys. Essentially, their entire lineup is top 15. So, like, there's going to be some really good matches in there. Like, I don't think Iowa State beats Ohio State, especially with the lineup that they're going to be throwing out there. But it's a really good measuring stick for the Cyclones. And is that a match where you throw Younger Bastida out there again like you did against Iowa? Or do you let Daniel Herrera be like, all right, you feel Younger every day when Younger's healthy. Here's what number 8 Nick Feldman looks and feels like. This is the level that you have to be at to be an All-American level wrestler at the Division I level. So there's gonna be a lot of fun things to watch during this upcoming weekend. The one day, like Jackie said, it's a 3 dual meets in one day. It's like 2, 4, and 6. Like, all right, here we go, we're going, and that's what it is.
Which I think is awesome. And Iowa State has had fun at this tournament
event.
I was going to say, what do we call it? Collegiate duels. I mean, the Oregon State matchup they had, it was fun. I mean, you got to go back and look, but there's a lot of, and Penn State's on the other side of right?
I don't know.
I think they are. Someone today on Twitter was like, well, there's no Penn State, but I think they're just confusing the side of the bracket that Iowa State is on, because it's not just these programs here. There's more teams there, so we can share the full brackets on Twitter for you guys to check those out. But it has top competition. So again, like we've talked about, when it comes to the Iowa duel, this is a really good opportunity for guys to feel out really tough competition before the second, quote unquote, second half of the season. So it'll be a fun event. There it is.
There it is.
I was like, there. Yeah. So you got Penn State, Missouri. I can't see.
Little Rock.
I was going to say.
And then Binghamton. Yeah, Binghamton.
So it's a stacked event.
It is.
Every year. Mm-hmm. I think it's become one of my favorite things they go to in December, to be honest, because it's just so entertaining. So call me your number one fan, Collegiate Duals. But so that's what Iowa State's up to this weekend. Again, Dresser brought up the Soldier Salute and
they're having the Cyclone Open. Yeah.
Cyclone Open. So again, Dresser seems confident about what's coming. Obviously, injuries are so hard to navigate. Like, I feel like a broken record, right? We watch football go through it. Now, unfortunately, wrestling's going to have to go through it. So, but I think there's still a lot to take away from this month, just because there's a lot of wrestling to be done before we get into the bulk of Big 12 action. So, which I was checking out the schedule. The West Virginia duel is on a Wednesday?
Yep, Wednesday, January 8th. That is a really weird day.
There's just always that random weekday, and it's usually Missouri. So I'm curious how we ended up with West Virginia. We'd have to ask Dresser that. But so unfortunately, still a lot of question marks, but I think it's fun when you have guys like Daniel Herrera stepping up, and now we got Chittum back in there, and I'm excited to see MJ. And I mean, Jacob Frost is going to be fun to watch. So it's just going to kind of be a wait and see game, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, but very much wait and see. Dresser is waiting and seeing just like we are.
Dresser hates him more than us.
And he's said multiple times, I remember his first press conference, he's like, I'm not a patient person. And he had to exercise a lot of patience, especially those first couple of years at Iowa State. Mm-hmm. And now he's having to exercise patience in the middle of this season to see if guys get back, when guys get back, all of the things. Because, he's having to do a lot of shuffling with his lineup right now.
Something I thought was fun that we learned today about Cody Chittum is just kind of what his process is like for training. And he talked about how he's always in the wrestling room. And if he's in the wrestling room, sometimes he's even just on his phone watching YouTube. And I thought it was fun when he talked about watching old matches, because I have done that. And it's always so funny to me to go back and see Metcalf and St. John and Dresser back when they were the athletes. It's just so funny to watch their mannerisms and how they were on the mat. And then now watching them have to be, a little softer, a little more patient themselves as they navigate the woes of being coaches. So, but you guys will have to go listen to that full interview with Cody Chittum. He kept calling himself an intense guy.
Yep, he did.
Which is why I love him. So, but it's a weird time. It's a weird time. I should preface, Ben and I will take a break and we'll come back in the new year to hit the ground running for the crazy part of the season.
Yep.
So final thoughts, Ben, for the listeners before we head into the final stretch of December?
Yeah. Final thoughts specifically for this upcoming weekend is just to see, Dresser said that 17 guys are going to the Collegiate Duals, and right now he anticipates all 17 wrestling. If that's the case, that means Younger Bastida's wrestling. So that's the biggest thing I'll probably be looking for is, does Younger wrestle? If he does, how does he wrestle? And how much does he wrestle? Does he just get one match in, or does he get 3 in? Like, what does that look like? So I'm going to be very interested in that. And then just big picture, when and if guys get healthy, what does this team look like and how far can it go?
Yeah, it's a fair thought there. It'll be interesting to see how these guys, get healthy. It just sucks since injuries are so hard, obviously, to predict.
Yep.
So, but I wouldn't be discouraged as a fan. I think this is, Dresser said it himself, if you have to deal with injuries, the best time to deal with them is now.
Yep.
So if we have to deal with injuries, then might as well be December when you have a lot of moving pieces in terms of tournaments you can go to and where you can send guys. So,
and time.
Yeah, you have time. So
it's not March and you have no time. It's like, well, we're sending all our backups to the NCAA tournament. Good luck, fellas.
Yeah, can you imagine?
Yeah.
Let's not even think about that unless we have to. So, like I said, we'll be taking a little hiatus, but we'll still be on Twitter, tweeting away. If anything crazy happens, of course, we'll share updates or Hopefully we wouldn't need an emergency pod.
No, hopefully not.
Have we ever needed an emergency
I don't know
pod?
that we've ever done. We might have done one at one point, but I don't remember it. I feel like I remember doing one, and it's like after an NCAA tournament thing.
It was Big 12s.
Was it Big 12s when they won it, or was it?
It might have not even been when they won it. It might have been when they got close, maybe.
Okay.
Because I remember I had to like dead sprint back to my hotel and like get set up. But I don't think Aiden existed yet.
No, Aiden definitely wasn't involved.
No,
in
I
it.
didn't exist at all before the show. So
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
We made you appear.
I
is what
spawned
happened.
onto reaction time. That's how I get started.
Yeah.
Because I remember we were like, I was frantically in the little kitchen of my hotel.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Good
And I feel like
times.
it was after. So maybe we did two. I think that one for sure, and then David Carr after he won his first NCAA title. I feel like we did one after that too.
Yeah. I was thinking about David today on the drive here too. I was like, we were so used to such a like, what you saw is what you got with David. You know, you knew his training, you knew how he prepared, how he trained, what he did on his off time, you know, and same with his wrestling, just so tight, so clean, entertaining. And now it's just like, we got this big bag of all sorts of different types of guys. But regardless, it's still a fun season. I'm so excited to see what the heck happens. And there's a lot of really good teams. I mean, we didn't even touch on ESPN is going to be broadcasting more collegiate duels, which is huge, which includes Iowa State versus Oklahoma State, which is at home.
Yep. On the mothership again, second year in a row. Iowa State and Iowa's they're the first one ever to be broadcast on ESPN. Yeah. And now for the second year, they must have liked what they produced.
I was going to say, I want to know what ESPN folks have to say. So that's really exciting. I'm very excited for that. That's a very big accomplishment, I think, for Dresser and his team and Jamie Pollard to have them here again. So regardless, Oklahoma State is obviously a bigger draw currently because they're the shiny new toy of the Big 12 with their new coaching staff. But I think it's really huge that it's going to be in Ames, and that's another opportunity for Hilton to be on national television for wrestling. So
that one's January 26th. It's a Sunday. Get your tickets now. Obviously, the Iowa State Iowa was sold out. Let's see if this one can't get sold out too. So
yeah, and this is even more exciting to me.
No,
but that's the Big 12 fan in me, right? So the bias. Anyways, shout out to Fareway. Do your holiday last minute shopping. Well, not really too late. Well, we're getting there.
With groceries, it's not quite last minute because groceries, you got to get those things like on the 22nd, 23rd. Make sure everything's still fresh. Get your meats then. Keep them in the garage for refrigeration because it should be cold enough for that. And you're going to be golden. Yep.
So head on over to Fareway. Fearless supporters of the sport of wrestling, honestly. So... well, thanks for listening, guys. Like I said, follow us on Twitter. We'll be updating away. So, thanks for listening.